We will call this meeting to order. Regular city council meeting, city of Dalhart, Monday, March 28th. First item on the agenda is the prayer. Parker, would you lead us in prayer?
Lord, thanks for letting us be able to gather here today. I pray that you help us make wise and sound decisions. I pray that you're with all of us as we go throughout a week, especially our city workers and public servants, Lord. I pray that you're with everyone in this room as they go throughout their week, Lord. I pray for rain as always. Hopefully we get some on Wednesday, and pray that you just always keep our eyes on you, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand with me as we recite the pledge. The United States and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First item on the agenda is a consent agenda consisting of minutes from regular meeting on March 14th, 2022.
There was a change to the minutes on the vote for my appointment and Rhonda's appointment. I did not include that the same carried vote, so that was added.
Okay. Everything else just like it was.
Make the motion, we accept the consent agenda with the additions onto it.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Item number one, public comments. Item number two, consider establishing an ordinance authorization the sale of beer between midnight and 2 a.m. allowing La Barranca Bar to apply for a late hours permit. She came and spoke at our last meeting and had told us a little bit. She is here tonight. Or is she not here?
No, that's not her.
Rose. I don't have my contacts. Anyways, what she's wanting to do is be able to sell beer after 12 up until 2 a.m. And right now she's able to sell it up until midnight. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's just on Saturday nights.
On Saturday nights only.
You can go to 1 o'clock on Saturday nights on the state law.
Are there any other facilities that are doing that in Dalhart?
No, TABC requires her, if she's applying for an after hours permit, we have to have an ordinance in place that states that they can apply for a late hours permit. Or there has to be an order by commissioner's court, and there's not one in Down County or for the city. So the first step is basically just coming and asking if it would even be something that council would pass before we draw up an ordinance.
Okay. Eloy, do you have any comments or concerns about that?
I do. Back in November, we made an arrest for aggravated assault at that location. It's felony of the second degree. The guy was pretty hurt, and from what I understand, reading the report, it was packed. Like you can't. I don't know how many people she employs, but with the amount of people that she's had in there, and also this is coming from people that have come and talked to me. She can't watch everything all the time, and the area that it's in is, to me, my opinion, it's inviting trouble to anybody that's there, anybody that resides right there. There's 2 houses right across the street from it. The noise, I'm sure, might get on there. They might call us on that. And right now I'm minimum staff. I've got 2 officers. If something goes down there and then something else happens somewhere else, I've got officers tied up there for whatever the reason is. And it's just, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea.
All right. Thank you, Eloy.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other establishments that have asked of this?
Mayor Moore,
I know.
Yeah.
please, excuse me, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, in relationship to this, what we're looking at is on it, my understanding, if we make an ordinance, that opens up the same ability to get an after hours permit for any location in Dalhart.
That's correct.
And with that in point, when it was presented to us, she was more concerned about Saturday night for an extra hour. Well, if you imply this, that is it's till 2:00 every day, 7 days a week. So we're talking about an addition of 13 hours of operation. I don't know if I'm correct in the relationship. If you make the ordinance, I do not know you can make an ordinance for one establishment. I think it would be
That's-
blank. So my concern of it is that it opens up a whole lot of other areas that we might know in the future in relationship to residential areas, because some of the locations are in, close proximity, and I don't know what the width zone and all that would be in relationship to the distance requirements, for the noise bit. But it's just my concern of it is that if you do an ordinance, it opens up the possibility for a lot more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other concerns or comments from council? I think midnight is plenty late. There's 2 more hours. That's definitely plenty of time to get in more trouble and cause more trouble. So do we need to act upon, or it says consider establishing an ordinance?
I think we just needed to be able to tell them that they wanted to that we wanted them to establish it or not. So
Okay.
the way I read that.
I would say after all the discussion that we would deny establishing an ordinance for them to stay open till 2 a.m. serving alcohol.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Item number 3, discuss and act upon liens placed on property owned by John King.
He's not here. I put the liens in your packets. He has several liens on the property for mowing. And the request from him was to see if we could consider lowering the interest rate, the annual accruance from 10% down to 6%. He has a automatic payment right now on his water bill that pays for street paving, and that's going to be paid off, or should already be paid off. So he wanted to continue that $1,000 a month to pay for the balance that he owes on his liens. But really his request was to see about lowering that interest from 10% down to 6%.
Remind me, when we did that before, we were able to do it because of something, right?
He represented Herman Gaines,
Right.
Mr. Gaines' financial situation. And there was an issue about how well he heard, how well he saw notices, those types of things that aren't in this situation.
Right. But what I mean by that is James at that time found a way that we could lower that for whatever reason, and I don't remember what that reason was.
I know Greg and I looked at it, and I think it was the state law that you had looked at where it stated
Yes.
that you can go down from 10% down to 6% of an interest forgiveness.
I couldn't remember.
My concern is that we did that under the premise that Mr. Gaines was indigent and that his lifespan was short. And so that would be my number one concern is that is the reason why we did forgiveness on that.
Right.
And I don't know that that applies in this particular situation.
My concern here as well is that if we do this, we're going to set precedents that when people get fines, they don't want to pay the 10%. And we need to support staff, city staff, for the fines that are in place and not be adjusting them. Just my opinion.
Were these liens, do you know if they were on the properties? Did he purchase them with liens on it, or did he own these properties and then liens were placed on them?
That I'm not 100% positive.
It was on that he purchased the property.
The liens
21,
attached.
and that was an attachment to him.
So he was aware that the liens were there.
When it came up, the abstract is in the file, it's showing the liens in place.
Well, Greg,
So he knowingly
On the
took on the liens with the interest rate in place.
That's the way it works. It's attached to the land. Somebody's got to pay it off. Transfer file.
so Greg, I have a legal question for you. Isn't it, when there's a lien on a property, is it that part of the stipulations you can't sell it to you? That lien has been satisfied?
I mean, that's normally the position we take on all of our liens,
Right.
is that you're gonna have to bring yourself current, so to speak, before we'll agree to release our lien. And there aren't many buyers that will buy with a lien in place.
Right. So I'm curious how he did that. Must have been a cash purchase or something where he didn't go through
Well,
title.
Yeah, it's possible that he bought it without any type of title insurance.
I think sometimes in that, just maybe just to kind of even clarify, in his business, he may acquire property.
Mhm. I bought property through a tax sale and the lien comes with it. And I had to satisfy
Yeah.
all the liens.
I've done the
Yeah.
same.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
I believe council has been addressed that you don't set precedents in these applications. It is on a come as they under that's Greg, how to say that. We can base it upon each individual case, and it's not a precedent setting situation. And was that correctly informed on that? That does not set a precedence. If you do this, it would have to be applicable to the same circumstances.
I mean, that's one argument that can be made, yes.
So you're saying it wouldn't set a precedence?
Whether the precedent says
Under
otherwise.
section 150 of the charter, it gives us the ability to raise and manipulate and forgive liens. And then when this came up, the concern was, and it was in our packet there, that possibly in the future. But the understanding is, and the argument that they're talking about is that it is based upon an as-is situation. They could say it was a precedence, but we apply it as what would be the term? The term of it is one case at a time. So that wouldn't imply that you take an action that we would carry it on. But now, just on my comment on part of that, I believe that there's a lien attached and they're responsible for the full lien. There's no extenuating circumstances to forgive or even decrease the lien or percentage, the interest on the liens, in my opinion.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I would just like clarification on the balance.
That he owes.
Yeah. And what's the difference in the balance with the 10% and then reduction down to the 6%?
Okay,
I'm seeing.
so
notes
he
that-
came up with his numbers, but I was verifying those with the liens on file and by the abstract that he included. So I made my own math because I have to put the numbers and figure the interest in how many years. And his total that he had was 37,3150. The lien totals that I show was 1,459, and at 10% interest, it's $2,120.30. There's filing fees that are also attached to that. So he's gonna have to pay 13 $30 fees because they've all been filed with the court. So we have to reimburse ourselves for that $30 fee that we paid to have those filed. Then we can do one lien release of $30 instead of doing 13 more. So then that makes the total $390 for filing fees. And then the total at 10% would be $4,000.30 that he would have to pay for releasing filing. And then at 6%, the interest was $1,272.78. Filing fees are still the same, the $390, and then the release fee of $30. So his total would have been $3,151.78, which is a difference of about $1,151 and some change.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I know my notes were a little bit
No, it's okay.
confusing.
So you did go back in and see what our records show on the amounts.
Yeah, to verify the liens that we have in our book.
So you said the total at 10%, is it the 4,000 that you have in the notes?
Yep, the four.
Okay, so the difference is only 849
Yeah.
instead of 1,000?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
But his total payments were different and he did it at a 6.149%. So he was coming up with a different amount than what it actually would have been.
And since it's a per annum, that in your financial part of it, that just means that base fee is what it's based on per year. So like I
Yes,
said, that is
so-
correct.
Like in the total on this first page. So he's got a $75 lien, 10% is $750 at 30 years. That's $225 just for that one lien.
Yeah, but it's just, it's not compounded or anything like that according
No,
to
it's
the,
just per year.
just wanted to verify that. Thank you.
Anything else? I would like to entertain a motion to deny John King's request to have his liens reduced on the property he owns.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4, consider and act upon adopting resolution 20-2022-02, suspending the effective date of rate increase with Atmos Energy Corporation for 45 days. Looks like they're wanting to go up. I thought I gave that back to you already, didn't I? Oh, I got it right here. Yes, thank you.
And this is for all the panhandle too, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Cities of Amarillo, Channing, Dalhart, and Lubbock.
Yeah.
So the residential gas service will increase $2.83 per month, I'm assuming. And then commercial gas service will increase $8.79. Industrial transportation gas service, $152.87. And public authority gas service, $15.84. How often do they increase that? Do we,
I ask every year.
every year?
They used it every 3 years. Now it's every year.
We just did another rate case on Atmos last year.
Last year.
So we did increase it last year.
Yes.
I
It was,
I don't remember if it increased or if
think it went down last year. I mean, I don't know. Can't remember. It was a year ago.
it went up like 0.25% or something like that. It was
It
very
wasn't, it
small.
was very, very minute, whatever it was. But the gas's price wasn't as high as it is right now either.
So by suspending this, if I remember correctly, it goes to somebody to review or something?
It goes to the lawyers to negotiate.
I think that's what we did the last time anyway.
So
So any other questions or comments? So if we choose to suspend it, then they just, the lawyers review it and that either they,
Do it or they
gives
don't.
them 45 more days. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
More days
45 more days to
to consider.
negotiate it and
And I think they came back lower last time, right?
yes. Would make a motion, we adopt resolution 2022-02.
second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5. Consider an act upon adopting ordinance 2022-03, Wendy, or 02? 03. Okay, this is the speed limit on 87.
that little map's hard to read.
It is.
Yes.
It looks like TxDOT's wanting to reduce it from 50 to 45.
It's that area right after the school zone. south of town.
And to 13th Street, is that where, or that's where it starts?
Going, I think that's where it will start from there all the way out.
Okay, all the way through town.
To the
To
edge
the
of town.
60-mile-an-hour sign, is that right?
I
Is
believe
that
so.
just to clarify
I saw.
those speeds? Because I think that there's probably a little confusion with the two signs that are out there.
We had to do it in steps because they couldn't drop a speed limit 10 miles an hour.
Right.
Automatic. So last I heard, we were going to do it in steps.
That was in relationship to, excuse me, that was in relationship at 281 also. That's why we're having difficulty getting that down at 281.
Are they also slowing it down because the stoplight that's coming up at 16th Street, 287
Possibly.
to help that? That's what I assumed they were doing.
When I talked to the, I'm assuming the engineer from TechStop, it is hard to read all this. But
Yeah.
as far as I know, we've increased the distance from where the counties meet. And I believe that number is. It says here 4,134 feet southeast of the Dalhart County line. So that's been increased out
Over a mile, almost a mile.
almost.
Mhm.
I believe it was 400 and some before they increased it.
Eloy,
I think it's a good idea.
you got any comments on that, Eloy?
So long as people observe that speed limit, it would be great, but yeah, again, staffing. I've only got 2 officers out during the day. It's hard to sit on one spot to enforce. I'd love to, if I had 3, one would be assigned to school zones at all, every time, every day. But I just don't have it. And we're coming up to the time of the year where calls for service are going to jump substantially, both day and night. I think it's a great idea for the speed limit to be reduced right there, but that's also dependent on people observing the speed limit and us being able to be out there and enforce it.
Does state also patrol that? Will they patrol that?
They do. Usually in my experience in patrol, state would be there. Sometimes they're not, but they're not usually there during school zone hours, which is peak time for traffic in that area. Hartley County does on occasion. They come into town and they do some enforcement, but they have all of Hartley County to deal with. So, I can't expect them to be there whenever I'm short. It's a great idea and in theory it would work so long as it's observed and enforced. And we'll do our best to enforce it. Just can't be at 2 different places at the same time, unfortunately. Wish I could, but
Right.
Thank you, Eloy.
sir.
I know as it is now, you can't hardly get on that highway pulling out on 13th Street from the shop. I mean,
Especially after,
it's bad.
especially when school lets out. You can sit there for
Mhm.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
I think this will help a little bit. So every little bit will help. So I think it's a great idea.
If I may, Mayor, also we've had numerous requests from the citizens in that area wanting it to go a whole lot slower.
And I would love it too, but
We've had many requests to the city about what we could do. So if this is one small step we can take, I think would be very beneficial.
yeah, I think we can start here and then and ask for another 5 mile
Yes.
increment down the road.
I would make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2022-03.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? City Council will now convene into executive session under Texas Local Government Code 551.074 for the discussion of city manager recruitment with strategic government resources. The time is 6:24 PM. City Council is reconvening from executive session at 6:58 PM. No action was taken. Item number 7, consider and act upon a request from Dalhart Youth Basketball for funds to help purchase 2 adjustable rollaway goals. Sherry, you want to lead off with this?
So, sorry. This is community development funds that I'm not real positive where all the funds come from, but some of it's on my water bill and y'all's too. But this is community development funds. In the past, you know, we've helped XIT Rodeo and Reunion buy their little frisbees, or, you know, the chamber comes for money, I think, for the fireworks show and a couple of the little things that they do, fiddlers contests, that kind of stuff. Keep Dalhart Beautiful gets their money from that for planting their flowers in the flower beds and keeping up with the downtown flower pots. And then Pedal Pushers gets a little bit of that. I'll look for that to kind of, I don't know how at one time they were going to not be.
They're not
Anymore.
No.
Okay. So, and then Frank, Dalhart Community Education Program has gotten money every year for the summer programs that they do also. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that it really doesn't fit in EDC. I came to Melissa when they came to me for help and said, do we have any help available for this? And she pointed me towards this. So anyway.
So why does it not fit EDC?
So
If they're holding tournaments for
I think,
heads and beds and.
I mean, I think we could probably argue it. I mean, we are the type that we are allowed to do some funding that is quality of life. So is it quality of life? Probably. But I mean, here's the other thing. When I asked Melissa about it, I was told it probably doesn't fit EDC. Okay. And
Understand.
I think it's kind of on the line of, yeah, maybe, but maybe not.
Because it wouldn't fall under parks. We don't have ownership of it. You
Right.
know, it's not city connected.
That's exactly right.
Criteria of Parks and Recreation, something like that. Is that not correct?
So yes, it's obvious that we can spend money on parks and recreation and those types of things with EDC money, but this one is real iffy. I went completely through my course going, can't find it, don't see anywhere that this works, because I mean, we are the type that we've got some flexibility, but I think this one is the fact that it's not our park and the city's park or that kind of stuff. I really think that's kind of, I looked. But
So are they saying they cannot use Allen Finch
no,
gym anymore?
no, they are not saying that.
Jodan, do you want to add anything or speak? You're welcome to step up and.
So I guess I need to clarify and clean up some rumors and whatnot. So the issue is with Alan Finch, Gene Raw and them, they helped us this year, you know, and they didn't let us use it. They could have started construction. What the deal is that the school came to us this year and they're redoing both the gyms. And they said if DYB will help them, because the school's money is limited too. So they wanted new pads. They said, hey, if DYB buys the pads and you're going to help us upkeep the gym, you can use both the gyms at the junior high and concession. And while the new facility is exciting that Gene Rawls doing, you know, this is a volunteer organization. So the school being able to use both gyms, we can cut down to one location. Now, we're not saying we won't use Gene Rawls' facility. But for right now, this was another out because we don't know when Gene will be done. And we don't want to put pressure on Gene and what he's doing for Dalhart Youth Basketball. So this way is our out. We have a backup plan now. But the issue is the goals. And at the Allen Finch, we have goals that hang up there and then you let them down. And that's the way it's been for years. But that facility hadn't been used for school. So they still use the junior high gyms for games. Well, that goal that's hanging there now would be a hindrance for school activities. And then, I don't know how long those goals been up there, Sherry, 35, 40 years.
As long as I can
Never been an
remember.
issue till this year, and our president was letting it down and it crashed and broke a backboard. So that red flagged the school too. They're like, well, hey, because in the times we live in, getting stuff is, I mean, we're still waiting on the goal. And this has been 3 months, but anyway, so coming up with an alternative option for that. A few years ago, I bought the ones that you hang on the goal itself, the little plastic ones. They were $800 a piece, but every time you shoot, they bounce. They're not solid. And we played a tournament this weekend using them in Santa Rosa. That's what they had. And halfway through the game, we have to stop and they have to go back out there and retighten them. Anyway, so I started researching. This is what I found. It'll fit. The gyms are limited space on the outbounds. These fit it. They're a little expensive for DYB to fund the whole thing. That's why we're here. We're not asking for 100% of the money, but everything that's been going on is costing a lot more these days. And we don't want to increase our fees for the kids to play, because at some point we're going to increase them kids right out of playing. And so if we can find money elsewhere and then also not go into the businesses around town, then hammer them for more money if we can find some funds available.
Do you know what the lead time is for these goals once you order them?
I have no idea. That's another thing that scares me. And that's why I'm on it now, because we just finished. Hopefully it don't take a full year, but who knows? When you order stuff nowadays, you never know.
So
So,
were you wanting to get this before you had the tournament?
so we already had one tournament, but we're having another tournament in
The end of April?
April, but no, at that time, we still probably can use Allen Finch. It'll be some issues there about parking and entering. We'll have to come through the back. But we'll figure that out. But no, it's no rush to get these here by then. That's not going to happen.
All right, that's what I was wondering.
Now, we're not gonna put that pressure on you, like, no, Tim, today.
The tournament, I said, they're trying to get this done.
Yeah. And so this is the other side of that thing, is the cost. A lot of people don't know our cost. But on a Saturday and half a day Sunday, we were paying out $2,200 a weekend this year for referees. And that fee is not gonna go anywhere. So that's $35 a person, 2 people per game. 30 games, I think it's like $2,100, but we have to pay their travel too, which is another $35. And then our insurance, we have insurance. But we're looking to correct that in the years we haven't done concession, and we're going to take that back. So that'll help recoup some money that we've been losing. And we started charging a small fee at the door this year, and that'll help. And then, this year we did pay the gas bill. That was another unforeseen cost to us. So I just feel like if DYB were to make this purchase solely on its own, it would probably put us in a financial spot that we didn't want to find ourselves.
Will you guys be under control of these goals, or will they?
Yes. So at the junior high auxiliary gym, on the back wall, they have a big room, which is where Joe in all the years past has kept his pole. It's just a big room. These goals fold down. And I don't remember what the dimensions are, but they'll go through a double door, and that's what they have back there. So we will roll those in there. And so what we'll do is Friday night go in there, raise their goals up and out of the way, put our goals out there, and we will use our goals the whole weekend from 8 foot to 10 foot. And then Sunday night, stow them back away.
I was just curious if they would have repetitive use from other, wear and tear.
It should be DYB. I don't see a reason why the school would use them. They have goals, so they should last us a long time.
Well, you guys, Dalhart Youth Basketball has done a lot for our youth for as long as I can remember. A lot of those kids getting opportunities to play basketball that, normally wouldn't, even ones that can't pay. I know you guys have found a way to get them in there and get them to play. So I think anything we can do to help is right. Have y'all been to the city before, financial help or anything in the past that you're aware of?
So I think I've probably been involved in DYB, I don't know, 12, 13 years now. And in that time we have not. And I'm going to say before that, probably not either.
I can attest to that. No.
And I can also tell y'all this,
Maybe
opening the door and giving us money this one year, it won't be a repeat deal. I think that we can sustain DYB. We've done a great job at it. With these new costs, like I said, we're going to change how we've been doing things, take the concessions so that we don't have to, where we can self-sustain off of this. But right now, the initial cost to get it started is what's going to hurt us.
Since you're not, excuse me, since you're not in the big rush that I thought you were in when I was reading our packet, what would you think about we table this or put it off and then you go present to EDC and let them thoroughly research to see, because they might could fund the whole thing. I know that we don't have enough money in our community development fund to award 15,000.
I not totally understand that.
I really think you're going to find out it doesn't fit in EDC. I'll tell you that right now.
I have a commitment from a business owner on a side note. So us coming up short of 15,000 is not an issue. Like I said, I'm going to find a way to get it done. And I have a business owner who's committed to see what we can get for help, and then we'll figure out the rest.
I was just thinking it might benefit you to
Okay.
seek that avenue before we make our decision
Mhm.
here. Because since you're not in a rush, they could have a meeting and you could always come back to us if that didn't work.
What kind of time frame? I mean, I know you're not wanting them by April 28th tournament, but
So we would need them, our time frame is to have them in place by Thanksgiving.
okay.
And I guess what I can do is reach out to this company and see realistically what we're looking at on ordering to arrival.
Right.
And maybe they'll have a pretty good idea of 6 weeks or 12 weeks.
6 months.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only thing that I'm worried about is like just the glass backboard that we had to buy. It took forever just to get that in. Oh, and I don't know that we have it yet because it's still a piece of board at Allen Finch. So
But Sherry, you're on EDC. Do you think it'd be worth researching it for?
Well, I'll just tell you, Melissa's already told me it doesn't fit in EDC. And what I'm reading, it doesn't fit in EDC. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, if you know different,
I
but
don't
it
know.
just doesn't. It says, quality of life stuff, it's got to be our parks. Well, that's the school gym. Now, yes, quality of life, but remember, it's quality of life for these kids, and
Right.
not as a whole. I think you have to be real careful when it comes to our EDC funds, and I really don't think this is going to fit. And I think you're going to have Melissa saying it don't fit. And I think there's some other people who are going to say, no, it doesn't fit. I think if we're going to help them, even if it's just part of it, let's do it out of the community development funds. These guys are resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
Dalhart Youth Basketball has, for a lot of years, as long as I have been involved in it, I'm not anymore, but as long as I've been involved in it, they run their show good. They've never needed any money. If they needed it, they went and knocked on businesses' doors. Well, right now is not a good time to do so. I mean, but I don't think it's going to fit in EDC. I just don't think so.
So Wendy, could you get us financials for the community development fund?
I got those. They're on
Like the
your
last 3
Dropbox.
years? Oh, they're in Dropbox, so.
You're wanting for the last 3 years?
Oh,
Well, I was just gonna say, to see what had been spent on in the past and see where it'd be robbing from stuff that had been
we're
committed
not
to
going to be
previously.
robbing from anybody.
Okay,
The money that's in that report is there. And what we have used it on before is XIT Rodeo and Reunion almost always gets an amount. The chamber gets the bigger chunk of that for the things that they've put on. Keep Dalhart Beautiful gets their flower money that they plant everywhere. Pedal Pushers and Dalhart Community Education Program gets theirs for the Community Connect stuff. And there's There's money still in there. All of these things have been paid for this year, right, Wendy? Is that what you understood?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you say
So
one of those
what is in
organizations
that
doesn't
finance?
exist anymore?
Yes, pedal pushers disbanded. They were supposed to.
That's-
Done.
Keep Dalhart Beautiful. still
Keep Dalhart
exists.
Beautiful
Dalhart
is still
Beautiful,
there,
yeah,
barely, but we're there.
Pedal pushers only asked for a little bit, maybe $500.
$500 is what they wanted.
So pedal pushers was $600,
Was
but very rarely did they even use that.
Take it, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a slot. If I might ask a question, is that the only fund that we can look at in getting the money? Because would it apply to partially to HOT since they do have overnight?
So they couldn't get help with paying for the goals themselves through the hot tax, but helping with advertising on their tournament they're doing, absolutely. They can go to the hot tax to help them with that. So any of their costs for the advertising, as long as they follow those rules of making sure that on their advertisements, there's hotels and all kinds of stuff on there, which I don't know those specifically, but yes, they can come back later and get some hot tax to help pay for these tournaments. They are bringing, 25 teams? They should be tapping into that hot tax.
Yeah, this year we did 25. Last year we did 40. Going forward, we're gonna increase, that was on 3rd through 6th grade. Next year, this tournament here, if it happens, and going forward will be 1st through 8th grade. So, we're possibly looking probably 60 teams realistically over a 3-day weekend.
So yes, they could come back
Get
for,
funds in one of the other several venues.
yes, but the goals don't fit under hot tax.
And might be speaking out of turn, I think if y'all consider going to EDC, you should have the option to go present it to them. You'll probably be denied. But we are trying to fortify people to go to these areas and ask, at least be able to put in a request. Is that not
Yes.
correct, sure?
Yes.
That's what I was saying, since you weren't in a hurry, could you try going to EDC and then come back to us, stay thoroughly research it?
Absolutely.
I'm telling you no tonight.
No, I understand what you're saying. I totally understand.
How much can we actually pay? How
What do we have
much
available?
would the committee actually like to dedicate?
In that community fund, it was
$8,160.
$8,190.
Yeah, something like that.
You don't want
That leads to 5,000.
No, because you still have from now till October that you could have more community requests. And Sarah and I did reach out to Stroud, and he said you can always pull from the general fund and then do an amendment. Either way, you're going to have to do an amendment. There's reserves in that account, but they don't consider the reserves in that balance. So the other option was to pull from the general fund, which Councilman, you asked me about that. And so James did confirm you can pull from the general fund and then do an amendment.
Okay.
I was talking with Wendy today for all different options.
Does this set us up
Yeah.
for other sports to come and ask this to be funding their sports deals also?
It goes along with that precedence. It's one of those deals where, they can come and ask, but are they being ran as well as Dalhart Youth Basketball? I mean, my daughter went through that. At some point I went through it.
I think you're doing a great job.
I mean, and that's the whole deal. It's going to be the same thing. It needs to be on an individual basis. I mean, I'm not trying to say that this is the only way we can go about this, but right now, as you well know, if you order something today, it might not be here for a whole stinking year. And if we put them off, and the other thing is, I'll share this with you. If it goes through EDC and EDC funds it, it's held up for 60 days. That money, we can't pay them for 60 days. So it holds it up way longer going that direction. So,
Would
I
it be
mean,
acceptable just come up with a partial figure? If y'all would accept the partial figure or
Yes, we're not here for,
not requesting the full?
no, I just threw that out there that I think buying the 2 goal shipment, that's what it's going to cost us.
What kind of money was you thinking of us request?
Tim, I have no idea.
He's asking for help. You just want to help?
Yes. Like I said, if we were to purchase this 15,000, that would, that would hurt us. I mean, we have funds available, but then that gets into our scholarship funds that we started raising, and we're gonna, pay those out already. We've given the money this year, and then we got new seniors graduating this year that'll be eligible for that.
I think everybody's wanting to assist you, but in the best way that we can.
I understand. I just, like I said, if we tapped into that next year, who knows where we would be,
Right.
we'd be short somewhere.
Could we possibly table it, and put it on the next agenda so we can do some research on possible fundings that we could come up with without making a decision right now?
Good table, if that's what you.
And, just I mean, we've had a little bit of time to get time together to see what resources we do and in compliance with how we could do it. And give you an answer 2 weeks.
I'd like to, you just get the whole 15,000.
I think that's kind of why we wanted to research where we can
Yes.
get these, because I think that's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
They want to help you
Yes.
100%.
Would that be agreeable?
No, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. I don't think 2 weeks, I don't even think 30 days, 45 days is gonna hurt us. 6 months might be pushing that's all.
See, if we did that, then in between, if EDC could have a meeting and y'all just hash
We
it
have a
out,
meeting coming up next week.
you could put them on the agenda.
Yeah.
And seek out that revenue, and then we can see what we can do on this end.
I'll ask staff and I'll ask Wendy. Would that be, could y'all facilitate looking at that? The city, look at, all the ramifications of where we could get the funds and all of that and put it in or give somebody, how to do it appropriately.
And get with Sarah tomorrow and have her start looking at that. See what the best way to approach that. And then Melissa will be back on Monday, so
Okay.
you can get with Melissa and talk to Melissa further on it.
Mayor, would you entertain a motion?
Any other discussion or concerns? Any apprehension?
I'd like to see it wholly funded. Let's just
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
do what we can to get the whole deal for them. if we
Fully
can.
funded somehow would be the ideal thing. Greg, so can we table it or do we postpone it or how do we
You can table it.
table it? Okay,
Take it off the table next time. That's when we're ready to hear.
okay. So I would entertain a motion that we table the request from Dalhart Youth Basketball.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So what date?
Next meeting?
11th.
That's gonna be a long meeting.
This won't take long.
No, it's just, we do, it's.
Item number 8, discussion of future agenda items for city council. Yeah.
I would like to add, for future items would be discussion about, our city landfill and the debris that's kind of getting everywhere. So I don't know how we would want to add that for the discussion, see if there isn't something that we can do about that. The highway is, we've got a lot of trash out there and it's hard to be a neighbor. So, I'd like to add that.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll get with you sometime about my request that you were working on. No sense mentioning it here, right? Till we find out what the state code is.
And number 9, comments from city manager and department heads. Eloy,
Moving along.
so how many short are you now?
I'm almost half down,
So you're down to how many?
down to 8 or 9 patrol officers. I'm about to be short 1 detective. And potentially losing 2 other officers. So I'm almost at very bare minimum.
Dennis, you got anything? Thanks for filling in for Melissa and taking my calls today. I appreciate it very much. Guess that's it.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
No.